What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a new NFL season, which means I get to say every week, welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. It's been a while since we've done some long form stuff here on YouTube. I've been posting shorts that hopefully you guys have checked out, but this show is back. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Jeff with Lock and Cash Sports. I'll be taking you through the NFL season. What this show is, it's an NFL show, and every week, usually on Tuesday mornings. Today I'm doing a Wednesday morning show, but Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I'll come on here and we'll review the entire slate for the week. I will point out lines that I think are maybe a little mispriced, edges that you can find. I talk a lot about trends, systems, situational spots, rests, travel, buy low, sell high, referees. We do a lot of, we're very numbers based, very data based. This is not, the handicapping style of this show is not like vibes or guts or what I think is going to happen. We try to rely heavily on data and the numbers and stick to it that way. So it's worked out well for us so far. If you guys remember last season, we did a show every single week. We ended up with a winning season. It was a small winning season, so I wasn't really happy about it, but it was a winning season. This year, I'm trying to have a much bigger winning season, so we'll see how that goes. We did start off well in preseason, just to catch you guys up. We had 8 preseason picks that were released. We ended up 5-2-1, so I was super happy with that. Didn't want to push anything. Week 1 releases are already out. Actually, as of this morning, I sent out, I think 3 or 4 different week 1 games that we're going to be firing on. Before I get into the week 1 slate, the entire slate, if you do want to become a subscriber to get the paid picks texted and emailed to you, there's a link down below in the description, which is basically our link tree. You can see the options there. There's like a season pass if you want to opt for that. There's a 50% off your first month to try it out. There's a week. There's all different types of deals. There's also links to get free picks down there. If you text the word free to our new SMS line, which is 417-309-6969. Text the word free. It'll text you back a free play each day. I think up to five free picks, and then it'll send you an offer or something like that. So check that out if you're interested. Now we can get on to week 1. Okay, we're starting it off with the Cowboys taking on the Eagles in NFC East divisional matchup to get us going on Thursday Night Football. The line currently sits at around 8.5. Most spots, you see some 8s out there as well. Philly laying the points at home, obviously coming off of the Super Bowl victory last season. So you've got the champs at home against the Dallas Cowboys team that just gave away Micah Parsons. Obviously has a lot of question marks on both sides of the ball, but does get a healthy Dak Prescott back to maybe boost their offense a little bit. To me, this is very simple here. I'm not, there's a trend out there about the Super Bowl hangover effect. I'm not a huge buyer of that. The data is actually pretty close to 50. It's a little bit towards the hangover, but it's closer to 50-50 than you would think, especially with these larger spreads. For me, this is Dallas or pass. Now, I'm not really interested in playing it. I do think, though, that the Cowboys can score some points. The problem is I don't think their defense is going to be very good, and you already know what Philadelphia wants to do, right? They want to run the ball, they want to bully you around, and I think they're more than capable of doing that in this matchup. But I do like potentially the over in this game, which is sitting at 47.5. I would also look at, because again, I think Dallas is going to have to throw the ball, and they've got the guys to do it, obviously, with Lamb and now Pickens and Dak. I would look at the over slightly in this game, but the other angle that I could potentially see working out is the Dallas team total. And this is something that I haven't looked at much in the past, but I started towards the end of last season, ghost tracking some team totals, and they did pretty well. So the way that I would look to play this, if I'm going to fire on it, is a Dallas team total, 19.5 points. I could see this being like a 31-21, something like that. Maybe they don't cover, but they cash their team total. 28-20. I could see that. So I think it's going to be close in the spread. Maybe they can backdoor it, but I think the point here is that Dallas is going to probably have to play from behind. You know how the Eagles want to chew clock, so limited time of possession. They may have to throw a little more than they normally would in a week 1 game, and I think that they have the guys to do it, to have success in the passing game, especially against the Philly defense that has some turnover from last season, from the Super Bowl team last year. So I would look for the Cowboys team total. I'll look for a full game over, Cowboys team total over, but as of right now, I have not played anything officially on that game. All right, moving over to Friday, we've got the Chiefs taking on the Chargers. This is your first international game of the season. This is going to kick off Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, but they're in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The Chiefs are currently a 3-point favorite. You can shop around and get a 3.5. I do see a 3.5 on MGM. I see a 3.5 on Rivers as well. So you can shop around if you like the Chargers and get 3 in the hook. I put this line right where it's at. I have it at 3. So at 3.5, small lean to the Chargers, but I don't see myself being on either side of this game. There's some interesting week one trends out there, like Jim Harbaugh being, I think it's a perfect 5-0 straight up in, excuse me, oh sorry, against the spread in week one. I'll have to double check that and I'll throw it up on the screen if it's right or not. But I'm pretty sure he's perfect in week one games, which is kind of interesting here because you're getting them as a dog. Obviously neutral field, so you have to consider when you're power rating teams on a neutral field, take away that home field advantage adjustment. And, are the Chiefs 3.5 points better than the Chargers? Seems realistic. But, LA should be better this year. So we'll have to see how this one goes. I just like when the number is priced right, like when I look at my ratings and I look at the game and the number is right there, I just kind of lose interest. Like I'm not going to dig any further at that point unless the line moves because there isn't really much of an edge for me. I do lean under. These international games have gone under at a high clip. So this game's sitting at 45.5 right now. Maybe if you get that key number of 46, I would look to play the under. But where it is right now, I will probably have nothing on this game unless some player props catch my eye or something like that. Okay, we can move over to Sunday. You've got my New York Jets as a home dog to start us off, 1 p.m. Eastern, taking on Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. A very interesting game from just the perspective of if you're just going to watch it as a fan to see his return. Now, you could still get some threes out there. There's a couple of juice threes, minus 118. Bet Rivers has a 3, minus 118. But you're probably looking at 2.5 here. Jets are going to be a popular teaser piece. I understand why. To me, I lean Pitt in the game a little bit. My numbers have this 3.5, and I know that Rodgers is. So here's what I'll say about this game. Rodgers is obviously not anything close to what he used to be, but I don't think that he's as bad as you saw him with the Jets. All right, and maybe that's just because see the helmet back here because I know my team pretty well, and when they put their hand on something, it just goes to shit. And I just don't think he's as bad as he looked playing for the Jets. And I could see Tomlin having a little more success with him, even though he's not a genius offensive coach. But I could see the Steelers putting a little something together with Rodgers. High motivation in his first game back on the road. He'll hear it from the crowd. Obviously, you don't have to worry about rest. It's the first game of the season. All of these things add to me to the fact that I don't love the Jets in this home dog role. It's a non-divisional game, so you don't have a lot of the trends and systems for home divisional dogs. Tomlin's been really good on the road. He's got great road ATS records. I lean Pitt in the game, but this is probably a game that I'll probably stay away from, even though I'm seeing value across a key number 3. But something just tells me to stay away from this game. Now, if you like the Jets and teasers, can't knock that. I could see a 7-point win or a 6-point win for Pitt. They always seem to have these weird plays and a lot of field goals, so they always get these like oddball scores at the end of the game, these oddball final scores. So I could see like a 5-point win or a 6-point. So if you tease up the Jets, you're covered throughout those numbers. But if I'm just looking at spread, though, if I'm just looking ATS, my numbers favor Pittsburgh in this one. And I lean slightly that way. I wouldn't be surprised if all these 2.5s are gone by Sunday and the line is just flat at 3. All right. 1 p.m. Eastern Sunday, we've got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Indianapolis Colts. All right. This is a game that I think is pretty interesting. I have a play on this game, actually. So the Dolphins getting right now plus 1.5 at a couple of books, but mostly +1. And some pick'ems are starting to pop up. So you see the money flowing in on Miami. Indy as a small home favorite, obviously named Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback. To me, listen, I mean, this is one of those things where I looked at it early and I saw the plus 1.5, and I thought to myself, just on the surface, it kind of felt like the wrong team is favored in this game. Then I dig into my numbers and I find out that my numbers agree. And then I send out the play. I'm on Miami. I'll give you that. And the line is now starting to move. So it all kind of when all of that lines up, it gives me a little vindication to know that all right, my process is on the right track, right, as a handicapper. So I think to myself that looks like it has value. Numbers agree. I give it. Then the line starts. Then the market agrees. It's all affirmation, right? So I think Miami should be -2 in this game. So I like the Dolphins. I played it. I'll give you guys that a little week one gift. I played the Dolphins +1.5. I think it should be -2. I gave it out to subscribers. We're going to be on that play for week one. I just don't see, and a little bit just to get a little bit further into it. You've got Tua on one side who's healthy, right? No issues coming into a brand new season. His weapons are healthy. You've got obviously a very good running back with Achane, but you've also got a shiny new running back straight out of college, and Ollie Gordon, who I think could surprise a lot. He was a beast before for a few years there in college, and you've got a healthy Hill now. You've still got the receivers. I just I think this Miami offense. What's the knock on the Dolphins? Always is that Tua can't play outdoors in extreme environments. Well, this is a dome game. You've got a bunch of offensive weapons with a very good. Say what you want about McDaniel, a very good offensive coach and playing indoors against a team that is going to be terrible offensively. Other than Jonathan Taylor, what does this team have? And now you've got to rely on Daniel Jones's arm. I do think Indy will be better defensively. When I look at each team, I kind of take down some notes, and I do think they're going to be improved. I like the move for their defensive coordinator, but I just don't see. To me, it's too much of a mismatch. I think I got the better coach as with Miami. I think I got the better quarterback with Miami. I think I got the better receivers, and and overall just better weapons. I give a slight nod to the Colts defense, but is that enough? I don't think it's going to be enough. I like the Dolphins in the game. Moving on to the Carolina Panthers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville laying 3.5 points at home. This is a number where the home team has gotten a little steam. Was 2.5 earlier in the summer, crossed 3, now sitting at 3 in the hook. Obviously, the Panthers going to be a popular side here, I would think, in this game, based on what you saw towards the end of last season from the offense, specifically Bryce Young. He looked a lot better. He looked way more comfortable than he did in his rookie year and also earlier in that season. So, maybe going to the bench was what he needed to turn things around, but he's looked a lot better. The Jaguars, obviously, with Trevor Lawrence, will have uh, firepower offensively. I mean, this was a team that when they were healthy last year, they could put up points. So both of those things kind of lead me to look at an over in this game, a non-divisional over, non-conference over. Those are two trends that are usually pretty strong, close to 60%, or in some cases north of 60%. So I would look over in this game. A small lean to the Panthers. Nothing crazy here, but I do think they're going to be live in this game, just based on the fact that they're going to be improved on both sides of the ball. They'll be fully healthy. It's got to feel, if you're Bryce Young, it's got to feel like a fresh new start after the way you finished last season, now coming into a brand new season. So the Jags getting a lot of hype. Another thing that I will mention here with the Jaguars is they're one of the teams on my list where I do not give them a big number for home field. They just don't have a great home field advantage. And you'll notice that as we go through these episodes, this podcast throughout the season, I will talk about home field with some teams more than others because there are certain home fields that are much better, or there are certain road teams that handle home field situations much better. Like the previous game I just talked about, like Miami going into Indianapolis should benefit them because it's indoors on turf, right? Jacksonville doesn't have a great home field, right? The Rams, the Chargers don't have great home fields. The Packers have a great home field. The Lions have a great home field. The Chiefs. So we'll talk Buffalo. So we'll talk about all these things as the season goes on. But Jacksonville is a team where I can't really get to 3.5 because I don't give them a lot for home field advantage. I basically have these teams rated even. So I see a little bit of value on the Panthers getting 3.5. I also see a little bit of value on the over in this game as well. All right, moving over to the next game, we've got the Giants taking on the Commanders, NFC East matchup. This line is interesting because it was 7.5 at the open, sat at 7 for most of the summer. Saw a big move come in on the Giants. It was 5.5. Now we're back up to 6. That doesn't surprise me. My true line in this game is 6. This is one of those things where you could have both, right? Like if you gave me Giants plus 7.5, I would take it. If you gave me Commanders -5, 5.5, I would take that too. And then try, you have a window there to middle. If you really think that there's a high chance the game lands on 6 or 7, which I think there is a chance here that it does. One thing that I want to note about this game is that there's a ton of systems on the Giants, a ton. There's a system actually here. Let me pull it up since we have time. There's a system here where you have a divisional underdog in week 1 that lost both games to the same opponent in the previous season. So the Giants lost twice to the Commanders last season. All right. Now you add on the fact the Giants didn't make the playoffs, but the Commanders did make the playoffs. And it's got to be in week one. All of those conditions together, this spot has come up 25 times over the last 20 years. And the Dog, the team that got swept in the previous season, they're 23-2. That's not a typo. 23-2 against the spread. That's 92%. So that's a system on the side of the Giants. So Giants +6 has a bunch of systems like that, the one I just described, pointing to it. My only thing is I don't see any value on the number. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Giants put up points in this game, make it a close game, maybe look at the over. But I can't get there with my current numbers. If this was still at a 7, I would have fired on New York, but not at the current number of 6. But yeah, but just some info there with the systems. The Giants they're going to be a popular play. I mean, they took sharp action early, and now also you see a lot of, they've got most of the money and tickets on their side based on all of the handle split percentages databases that I look at. They're all showing to the Giants. So the Giants look like they're going to be a heavy consensus sharp play and a heavy consensus public play as well. But the line going back shows that some people, some smart wise guys are still taking Washington. Just depends at a certain price, right? So when it gets down to 5.5, seems like that was the floor. 5.5, bringing it back up to 6. So nothing from me on that game, but just some info there. Okay, the Bengals are taking on the Cleveland Browns, another divisional matchup. Cincinnati is laying 5.5. You can see some 5s out there right now as well on Caesars. Bet365 has a 5. So the Browns, a big, sizable home divisional dog, which I mentioned earlier, that is a historically very profitable spot for home divisional dogs. The problem that I have with this one is I still think they're very good. I just think the Browns are going to be pretty bad. I can't believe Joe Flacco is starting a game for you week 1 in 2025. Obviously you've got Garrett on defense, who's one of the best players in the NFL. But other than that, you don't got much to look forward to if you're a Browns fan. I think it's going to be another rough year. And I think also the public narrative of how the Bengals never get off to a fast start. Weeks 1 to 2 or 1 to 4 always fade the Bengals in the first month of the season. They never start. They always lose. And this did happen last year. They're guilty of this. Last year, Patriots, week 1, I believe, was the Patriots game when they lost. They lost to the Commanders, both times as big favorites. So I get it. But for some reason, I'm just not seeing it. I think this year they are going to start off strong. I wouldn't be surprised if they covered this game. There is a referee trend in this one. Let me pull up the referee list, actually, since I did mention it in the beginning of the video. We would look at referees. So the assignment for this game, I believe I saw was Adrian Hill, who, if you have watched me before, you will recognize that name. Yeah, so Adrian Hill has Bengals at Browns. And let me bring up I posted a Twitter thread or X thread the other day about referees, and he was in it. So I'll show you guys what that is for right now. So Adrian Hill for Bengals versus Browns. That is correct. Bring this up. Here it is here. So in divisional games with Adrian Hill, okay, divisional favorites of 3.5 or more, 13-4 against the spread. That's 76.5%. All right, so that's something just to consider right there. I'll have a bunch of referee trends like that throughout the season, but that favors Cincinnati in that spot. Take it for what you will. Some people don't put any stock into referee trends. I do only in certain scenarios, not in every scenario, but I do think that the way certain referees call games or certain crews call games can be beneficial to certain types of teams. So you have to be careful with these referee trends. They're not all just like auto fire. Depends on the ref, the way they call the game, how the crew calls the game that he's working with, and how that impacts those two specific teams. Like if you've got a crew that historically calls a lot of offensive holding, then you've got a team who's like last in the league in offensive holding, right? Something like that. So it can't just be blindly bet them, but it's something to consider. So I do, me personally, like I said, Browns are going to be a popular, trendy dog pick at home. I kind of lean Bengals, but I'll probably lay off the game. Next one up, you've got the Raiders taking on the Patriots. New England laying 2.5 or 3 at home, depending on where you look. There's a couple of 3s left out there, but it's mostly 2.5 in this one. And another team that is getting a lot of hype is the New England Patriots. All right. Basically everywhere that I've looked where someone gives out free picks or totals or futures, they've all got Patriots over their win total. Vrabel coming in as head coach should absolutely help the defense. I think the offense will be better with Drake May, but I still have a lot of concerns for this team. I still don't think their offensive line's really good. I still don't think they're going to be able to run the ball well. I still think they're going to have to play from behind a lot because the defense, even though it will be improved, is still not going to be great. I think the Raiders are alive in this one. So what I really like is the Raiders in a teaser. If you can take 2.5 up to 8.5. I know some people say don't tease week one because it's the most inaccurate the lines will be all year. Depends on the game. Everything depends, guys. There's no one blanket rule. So for me, I think Raiders and teasers is a very good look, getting up to 8.5. But I really do think that you're giving me Pete Carroll, who's clearly the better coach and a great coach overall, and a veteran quarterback who I'm not a huge Geno Smith fan, but he's solid. You can rely on him. You've got a great set of tight ends. You've got okay receivers, but you've got a nice running back now, fresh out of college to prove himself with Genty. Against this New England team that I know the people are expecting Drake May to be really good, but they've got a disadvantage, in my opinion, at quarterback and at coach and probably at weapons overall on offense. I don't love this Raiders team long term for the season. They're not a team I'm looking to buy on or catching any great spots, but I just think this could be a line that we look at in like a few weeks and think, how are the Patriots favored at home? I just don't think they're going to be a very good team. On paper, they still should be a stinky team. So I'm not gonna go on a limb like the Dolphins game and say the wrong team is favored, but I think you could get close to making an argument that this game should probably be like a pick. But instead you're getting almost 3. In some places you are still getting 3 on the Vegas side. So I like the Raiders in this one. Cardinals taking on the Saints. Of course, this is the game that you've all been waiting for, I know. Arizona laying 6.5 now on the road, a fat number, up from 4.5 in the summer. Obviously, the Saints expected to be probably the bottom 2 or 3 or the worst team in the NFL. Starting Spencer Rattler at quarterback. I don't got much to say about this game. I'm not going to lay 6.5 points with an average team like Arizona, a middle of the pack team, especially in week 1. And I don't have any clue what the Saints are trying to do this year. Are they trying to tank for Manning? Are they trying to develop Rattler? Do they think he's any good? You've got Olave there, who's a decent weapon. I can't touch this game in any way. Maybe you want to convince me on the over, I'll listen, but there's no way I'm going to be betting this game. And if I was going to bet it, if you just put a gun to my head, I would have to lean with the home dog. I mean, it's week 1 home dogs. This is what we do in the NFL, week 1 home dogs. And I'm never afraid to lay road chalk with a team in the NFL if I think it's a great team. Like if the Ravens are favored on the road, no problem. The Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, but I'm not going to lay 6.5 points with the Cardinals. I don't care who they're playing. It doesn't matter who they're playing. So for me, it's Saints or pass, but it's very likely pass on that game. All right, Buccaneers taking on the Falcons. We head over to the NFC South. This is going to be a really good game, I think. The Falcons are going to be a very popular teaser piece because they are a 2.5 point dog at home, which we can take up to 8.5. Excuse me, maybe combine that with the Raiders, the other one that I like earlier. But overall in this game, this is the home divisional dog system or trends, which are all 65% or higher when you look at them, favoring Atlanta. I would lean slightly to Atlanta in this game, but Tampa is one of these teams where just when you think like, oh, they can't keep it up, or Baker is going to eventually go back to his old self, it just hasn't happened, man. They're well coached. They're good. They're strong defensively. I don't love the changes to their offensive line this year, but I still think they're going to be a solid offensive team, still going to compete in the NFC South. I could see this I could see this game landing on 3, which is why I'm not super high on the Falcons. Like I think this is going to be a close game. I could see 23-20 or some 27-24, and if the Bucks win that, you don't get a cash on your 2.5. So the 2.5 there to me is like I'm either going to tease up Atlanta or I'm not playing the game because I don't want to play with this 2.5, especially with a home team that has a young quarterback starting who's basically a rookie still. You've got good weapons for the Falcons. You've got the great running backs for the Falcons, but for me, it's tease Atlanta or don't play the game. All right, Tennessee Titans in Denver to take on the Broncos, catching 8 points. The biggest dog of week 1 is the Titans with obviously number 1 pick Cam Ward starting this game. I think at 8, there's clear value on Tennessee. I haven't fired on this yet, but I think anything above 7, there's value on the Titans in this game. The Broncos were one of these teams last year that beat up on nothing but bottom feeders. I can't remember the figure right now off the top of my head, but I did a video on this earlier in this a few weeks ago where I talked about how the Broncos, the wins that they got 10 wins last season. It was against opponents with like the combined record was horrific. It's a horrible combined record. So they basically beat, I think they beat one good team all year long, and it was like week 3 against Tampa. And everyone else they lost to who was decent. Now the Titans are not a good team, right? So that you can push back with that and say they're a bottom feeder. But I think this year they can actually make some progress forward. The win total is 5.5. I like, if I look back at the last few quarterbacks that were drafted, like I wasn't super high on Caleb Williams. I wasn't super high on Bryce Young. I was on Stroud. He turned out to be good. But this is Cam Ward's the first quarterback in a while, number 1 pick overall, that I'm like very high on. I think he's going to be really good. I love his poise. I love the way he plays. I love the way he sees the field. And when he does make, which he will, absolutely, a rookie quarterback in the NFL, he's going to make mistakes. And this is a very good defense that he's going to have to start off with. But when he does make mistakes, one thing I like is that they don't get to him, right? He's not one of these guys that beats himself up. So I think the Titans will be a team that I will look to maybe find some value on in certain scenarios, and this could be one of them with getting 8. But I already see it starting. There's some moves bringing it back down to 7.5. So I don't think you're going to get any better than 8. But at +8, I'll leave it at this. I lean Titans. Haven't bet it yet, but that's where I lean. Here's what I will say. I wouldn't play the Broncos in teasers, which a lot of people are going to do. I wouldn't. I would stay away from that teaser piece. Just my 2 cents. 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. -2.5 on the road for San Francisco. Total 43.5. I like a under in this game. That's kind of where my first my numbers showed the first value, under 43.5. Leaning that way. I think both defenses are going to, well, Seattle defense is really good from last year. I think the Niners defense is going to be much improved. Getting Salah back, I think, makes a huge difference. And even with the turnover on defense, right, some popular names left, I think they kind of needed like a reset or a refresh. I'm high on their team this year. I'm not running with them in week 1 to lay points on the road in the divisional game, but I am high overall on the 49ers for the season. They have a really easy schedule. I think that's going to benefit them a lot of spots where they will have rest advantage. So I like San Fran as a buy for me overall for the season. And I definitely want to invest in them in certain spots. I could say, and I could still see myself firing on this maybe before we get to Sunday, but just not rushing to do it just because it's a divisional game to open the season on the road, even though I think Seattle is going to be worse than they were last year, because I actually think Darnold is a step down from Geno Smith. And I think and Darnold had a lot of success with Minnesota for, I'll just say, very specific reasons, like coaching, the weapons that they had. Like it was almost like this kind of like perfect storm of where he kind of had this like amazing MVP caliber season. I don't think that's going to be replicated in Seattle. So, but very good home field advantage. Talked about that earlier. Tough place to play. Purdy is going to have to come in there and score points. The defense is going to have to play well. Good coach. I like McDonald. He's a good coach on the other side. But those Shanahan week 1 schemes are usually very, very good, especially on the road. I would look to play the 49ers, although I haven't done that yet. All right, we've got the NFC North matchup between the Lions and Packers. This is such a great game. Right now, Detroit +2.5, although you're starting to see a couple of 2s pop up. I don't think you're going to get a 3 on this. No way. No way will you get a 3 on this game. When it was Green Bay -1 in the middle of the summer, I was very interested. But I didn't want to send out, we don't have, in the middle of the summer, you don't have any football subscribers. So I'm not going to send out a football play in like the middle of June. All right. Because no one's going to get it who's actually going to be betting football. So waited on it. Obviously the market has moved that up to 2.5. That's exactly where my numbers are, right at 2. And that is only because, by the way, I really like this Packers team this year, number 1, but number 2, it's only because of the very high home field advantage point assignment that I give to Green Bay. So for Lambeau Field, this is going back to the home field talk that we had earlier. So I really like Green Bay's home field. I like them in the game. I mean, if you ask me who I lean in the game, just personally, I like them in the game, but I'm not going to bet it just because I don't see any value per the numbers. But Detroit in teasers, I don't hate that. Kind of feel like, the initial thought was like, yeah, you lose the OC, you lose the DC. You get back Hutchinson, but who knows if he's going to be the same. A lot of turnover on the coaching staff side, and how does that affect a team like this? Uh, but then again, it's like, man, it's almost like too much now. Everyone's like almost like counting them out now just because they got rid of a couple of guys. Like Ben Johnson was not the sole reason that this team had success, right? So I could still see the Lions winning this game, to be honest, and obviously still being a very good team. They got a nice schedule to run with this year. They've got a lot of spots where they have rest advantages. Not many brutal scenarios for them. The Packers actually have a much tougher schedule than the Lions do. So just an interesting thing to watch out for going forward. But in this game, my lean is Green Bay, but I have nothing on it. I probably won't have anything on it. All right, let's look at the Houston Texans taking on the LA Rams. This line is still sitting at 3. Honestly, this is a game that I expected. We talked about home field, remember? The LA Rams do not have a good home field. This is a game that I really thought the threes would be gone by now, and it's a little surprising to me that they're not gone now. If you watched one of my shorts earlier in the summer, I did post a video about how I played the Houston Texans win total under 9.5 wins. So I'm not loving the Texans for any specific reason this season. I don't think they're going to get 10 wins like they got last year, but getting 3 with them, they're still going to have a very good defense. And getting 3 with them against the Rams, who don't have a fully healthy Stafford, excuse me. Stafford's not 100%. They don't have a great home field advantage. They do have a great head coach. I understand that. I do like their young up and coming defense. I would look to the under in this game. I think the under with 2 very good defenses, even though it's an indoors game, I understand. But I would look to the under. It's 44.5 you can find is the best number, but mostly 44s right now. Not surprised by that. I think you could probably get down to 43.5, 43 by the time you get to Sunday. But I think an over is the way to go in that game. If I had to play the spread, I mean, I got to look at Houston getting 3. It just seems like I'm surprised that it's not 2.5 by now. So Texans +3 and the under in that game would be the 2 leans, the 2 ways that I go. Sunday Night Football, insane matchup between the Ravens and Bills. Right now sitting at a pick. Some books have Baltimore -1. Some books have Buffalo -1. Basically a coin toss game. I like the Ravens in this game. Excuse me. Another one that I haven't personally played. I want to take a second to see where this line goes, but I do like the Ravens. You've got the revenge spot. I just think they're the better team overall. And I think they're going to be even better. Last year, they were my top rated, power rated team. And I think they're going to be even better this year. So I like the Ravens in this game. I'll keep that one short and sweet because I may end up finding some way to play it team total. I'm not going to look at the total, full game total. Maybe team total for the Ravens. Maybe under team total for the Bills. Right? I just really like Baltimore this year. And Harbaugh also, just like his brother, very good week 1 ATS record. Monday Night Football, you've got the Vikings taking on the Bears. This is a game where I like the home dog. I like Chicago getting 1.5 points. I am not sold at all on the Vikings based on what they did last year. I think they took a step back both offensively and defensively. I don't think McCarthy is very good based on what I saw in college. They're going to give it a shot, try to develop him. O'Connell's a great coach. I get it. What they did with Darnold last year was unbelievable. I don't think JJ McCarthy's that good. Personally, I think you'll find out. And listen, like I said earlier, I didn't love Caleb Williams. I'm not high on the Bears, but this is, to me, home divisional dog in prime time, Monday Night Football, very small spread. The Vikings are following up a season where nobody thought they were going to be great, right? They ended up being a really good team. Came down to the last week of the season for the division with the Lions. And now this year, everyone expects, okay, well, the Vikings are good. And I have a feeling maybe you get a dud, right? It's always the flip. It's always the reverse. So I don't think Minnesota replicates the success they had last year. I think Chicago's got to get a little better, right? Caleb Williams will be better. I think they're live to win the game. So +1.5, I like the Bears at home in that one to round out the week on Monday Night Football. That's week 1, guys. All right. We came in at a solid 30, 35 minutes. I'm going to try to keep these a half hour or less going forward. Sometimes I tend to ramble on, but this one was not too bad. And also week 1, it's hard to formulate any super strong theories or ideas about teams in week 1 because we haven't seen anything yet. So going forward, I'm sure these will get closer to like the 45-minute mark, but this is a little appetizer to get us started for week 1. And don't forget, like I said, down in the description, there's a link for those of you who are interested in signing up for the year. Or if you want to get the 5 free plays texted to you, text the word free to the number. I'll put it up here on the screen. It's just a bot that we set up over the summer. We're really actually very excited to get it going. Already we've got over like 1,000 phone numbers in there, so people are loving it. People are coming in. You text the word free, it texts you back confirmation. Then when I release a free play, you get the text to your phone. And then after some time of, you get a bunch of free plays, and after that, it'll throw you an offer or something like that if you're interested, or if you like the analysis, the way we play games. Very contrarian, very data driven. So check that out. And thank you guys for watching as always. It's going to be a super fun NFL season. Let's get it. See you next week.